Oh, the last one was a little bit sour. I'm gonna play it one more time there. That's better. All right. Maple syrup. Hey, everybody. It is the Maple Syrup Show. And we're here live and direct. Oh my gosh. It is a day today. It is Wednesday.
Wednesday
And
for I think everyone here.
yeah, and it is 9:00 at night here in London, Ontario, Canada, where it is full of pollen and I cannot see out of my eyes because they're covered with goop. And there's some smoke in the air, but most of it's actually going down into New York. Sorry, New York, for all our smoke. We apologize. But we're here today with people from the Pacific Northwest. As usual, we have Kat here from the Pacific Northwest. And also joining us today is AnnaMaria Phelps. AnnaMaria is also from the Pacific Northwest, where there's apparently no good pizza.
No, sadly. Well, you know what? I'm a little caveat. If you want New York style pizza, you're not going to find it here.
What do you get
I
there?
haven't found any yet.
There's a lot of different things that are a crust with a sauce and toppings on it. And I am a non-partisan pizza lover, so I'll take almost anything. But yeah, if you have a very particular type of pizza in mind, it's probably not going to be here in Seattle.
Like not a fold it, walk with it, eat it.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
That kind of like really chewy crust. Yeah, no, sadly not.
Yeah, that's too bad. But we're here today to welcome AnnaMaria to the show. And today's topic of conversation, which I hope is of interest to lots of listeners out there, it's definitely of interest to, Kat, particularly as a self-designer, small publisher, self-publisher type person. Me, myself, not really looking to do any self-publishing for a while. But I am super interested in your trials and tribulations, all the ins and outs of that. And so we're going to start the show by asking you about where you got started in this business and why you decided to start up Violet Daisy. Oh, so that, by the way, is the name of AnnaMaria's company, Violet Daisy, of which I will always call it Violent Daisies. And I don't know why.
I mean, sometimes it can be a little violent around here, so
All right.
I'll take it.
All right. There you go. So we're going to start it off with AnnaMaria Phelps' origin story. Dun, dun, dun.
I wish there was like a really cool back alley villain thing here, but it was mostly just kind of falling into it. I liked to go to game cons. I started attending with my partner about 10 years ago. We were at one and saw a panel. I thought the women on the panel were super cool. I talked to them about working with them. I moved into content creation. From there, I started working with Kiki Marito from Girls Game Shelf and did that for a while. And at about the same time, I started doing marketing for board game companies. And I did that all the way up until about mid 2021-ish. Took a little break and kind of gave some thought into where I wanted to be in the industry. And at that point, I was kind of like, I think I really am wanting to do my own thing at this point. So at the beginning of this year, I launched Violet Daisy. And that's the whole story.
That's it? No like spider bites?
No spider bites, no cats raising me back from the dead kind of thing. Nothing like that. So there were cats though. Actually, in the year I took off, I got my veterinary assistance certificate. So, but yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, something fun just for me.
Still decided to do publishing instead.
Yeah, I still work with rescues regularly here in the area, so I get to do both, which is best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds. There you go. Right. Welcome to David Thomas and Amy Bio who are watching, and everybody else who's watching out there. If you have questions for AnnaMaria, put them in the chat. We'll get to them as they pop up.
George says hi from Texas, where he's still waiting in the plane on the tarmac.
Oh, is he flying back tonight or?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. There was like a big delay and then another delay and now there's lightning. So yeah. Let's not fly in the lightning.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, that he's safe and sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, Jay, who flies a lot for work and stuff, he always says, why do people tell me to fly safe? I don't have any control over that.
Good point.
I wish you safety in your flight.
Yeah, maybe that's the case.
I mean, yeah, I normally say safe travels rather than fly safe because that one, yeah, you can't control that, but I
Don't
wish you
have too
safe
many
travel.
drinks in the airport lounge?
Maybe that's
Yeah,
as good
Maybe?
as it gets. I don't
Or
know.
or
have too
or
many?
do.
Either, something.
Yeah. So where does the name Violet Daisy come from?
So that has actually been my gamer name for over 20 years now.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it was a tie-in. I started using it while I was playing video games online, and then when I moved into tabletop RPGs, I started using it as well. Little variations depending on what game we were in, but always pretty much the same game. So when I thought I was trying to think of names, and I will sit in a naming screen in a game for almost a day, like trying to figure out like the perfect name, or at least until that point. And I did the same with the business. I wrote down a huge list of things, and I just kept coming back to Violet Daisy because she's a huge part of my gaming story. And I thought this way I'd just continue it along.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes
So
sense.
what other names did you like throw out? Just in case I need a name for something.
Honestly, it's hard to even think of the ones that I did. I was doing that in December over a few drinks, and I was like, well, it could be like Phelps games. No, that sounds terrible. It could be, tell a story games. That sounds ridiculous. Like every time I was like, that's just not it. So this one fit. This one
This one
out
fits. Yeah.
fit. Yeah.
Yeah, so I like it also because it's not just animal adjective, right? Or
Yeah.
adjective animal, which is like 90% of startup game companies. So it's like strange sloth or rambunctious panda or something. And don't write those names
Spin
down,
the wheel,
I
Pat.
was
spin
gonna
the
say
wheel.
rambunctious
Yeah.
panda. Hold on.
Yeah, that one sounds pretty good, but it's got
Yeah.
panda in it, and panda's been done a lot. There are
Yeah.
lots of panda names.
Lots of pandas out there. Amy's like, how dare you? Uh,
Oh, that's
Oh,
right, Pink
yes.
Tiger. It's so
yeah.
good. And my social media manager actually is Amanda Panda.
There you go.
So yeah.
Too many
Too many
pandas.
pandas. I like Pink Tiger though, Amy, because Pink Tiger, it doesn't pink is an adjective, of course it is, but it doesn't feel like the other ones, which are always like curious or flying this or I don't know. It doesn't feel the same. It's in and of itself a very good name, Pink Tiger.
My
It makes
pink
lots and
tiger
lots of
fits Amy.
sense for Amy as
Mhm.
well,
Yeah.
because 'cause it's got sort of that cuteness with the sort of "but watch out" a little bit behind it, which I like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, David said animal adjective is what we were originally going to try, but so many of them were already taken that we ended up with going with Absurdist Productions. Yeah, see?
I
Look for
thought
the
you meant that you were
name.
actually considering calling your company Animal Adjective,
No,
which
that would be something I would
would be
do.
kinda cool, but adjective animal, please, because it's
Yes, that would be yes.
an
Okay.
animal adjective is not the message you're trying to give.
No. So
Or is it?
maybe it is. What is the philosophy, the core tenets, the pillars of Violet Daisy Games? What do you stand for?
Um, it's interesting because I thought a lot about the kinds of games that I like to play when I was thinking about what I wanted to make, but I kept circling back to the experiences I had, especially during the pandemic. It was almost always about who I was playing with and the memory that we created, and less about the game itself. And we played some really great games. But when I would describe those games to other people, it would always be like, and she did this and they did this, and then we talked about how this went. And so as I was kind of going through what is it that I want Violet Daisy to be and what do I want to produce with Violet Daisy, I landed on story and creating different ways for the people around the table to create stories together. I like to say that it's not about what's on the table, but the people around it when you come to the table, and so that's really what I kind of held on to, because no matter what we were playing, if we were playing something as simple as just one, right, which is just a series of one word clues to find a one word answer, someone at the table would make up a story about the three words that were happening, or something would happen that would just become, family legend. Um, and my online gaming was doing the same thing, where we were doing more collaborative story writing than we were actually playing the games that we were playing. So our tagline, if I have one, is "Let's tell a story." So
Cool. And do you design the games that you publish as well, 100%, or do you publish other people's games as well?
So it's a little bit of both. My
Mhm.
current project is a collaboration with 20 different artists in the industry. My next project is largely written by myself, but I have 3 guest writers on that. The project coming after that is entirely designed by someone else with art by someone else, and that's going to kind of be how when I have things that I want to do, I'll work on those. But it's really fun to see what other people are doing and bring those to the spotlight as well. There are so many amazingly talented people in this industry, and it's been really fun to have people kind of come to me and go, "I have this idea for this really weird thing, and I don't know where it fits." And I'm just like, "Tell me, because it might fit."
Right here, right here.
Right? Is
So,
it weird? Call me.
yeah, let's talk about that because I think in having that pillar of, it's about not about the game, but about the memories that are formed by playing the game, you have to have a very special game for that. What what do you think really goes into a Violet Daisy game if you could pinpoint it without having, you don't have many products out yet, and you're just planning your first 2 or 3. What do you think is going to be indelibly something that people say, "Oh, that's a Violet Daisy game. I could tell because XYZ." What's the X and Y and Z?
I like to think, I hope, cross fingers, that when people, play one of our games, put it on the shelf, talk about it later, they talk about the story they created in that game and whether or not that is an actual literal story that created epilogue that I'm working on with Emma Larkins is actually literally creating a story together, um, or a game, a secret project I'm working on with someone where you'll work through a narrative on your own. When they finish that game, put it up, talk about it with people later. I want them to tell that story. I want them to tell the story of, um, in the case of Emma's game of, oh no, we all died because we were at the nut allergy anonymous meeting and someone had put almonds in the cupcakes, sort of thing. Or I want people to finish the secret project and go, wow, my story ended up going like this, because it's not linear, it's got twists and curves. But I want people to discuss and talk and share the stories, the tales, and the adventures that they kind of create together. I think it's interesting, both just as a social thing, to create a narrative together. It's a piece of art, and I think it's also it becomes part of our memories, and the fun that we have with those people. So it's the memories of those people in particular, because you'll never create that story again with other people. So I think that's what I really want people to kind of lean into is I'm about to create something really great with the people that I'm sitting with right now, and we will talk about this later.
So
That's really cool.
that sounds really cool. What kind of weight of game do you think you'd be looking at? Like, is there a particular category, or is it would you be open to all different game weights?
Definitely all different game weights. So Emma's project is fairly light. One of the secret projects is, I would say, more middle. I'm guessing we're probably going to lean somewhere in there. I think once you start to get into hardcore mechanics, the narrative is important, but the mechanics can sometimes take over. And
That's what I
so,
was wondering.
yeah, so, I probably not any heavily themed Lacerda kind of games.
I kind of want you to go into that area
Wouldn't that be
because
fun?
there's just like I've noticed that that tends to be the case, and so the people who play the lighter games don't necessarily venture into the heavier games, but this is the kind of thing that would make it more accessible.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Yeah, if the right project came along, I would 100% be on board with it. So, yeah.
I'm hoping that's the case. I'm looking forward to seeing more. That's what we're trying to do at Dreyer Inc. as well, is take the concepts of games that are classically considered to be light or sort of those sorts of things, but actually push them into the heavier area so that there are games like we like, but that have actually got a bit more crunchiness, a bit more complexity, a bit more of a challenge, so that those of us who like those sorts of themes and those sorts of games can play more difficult ones without them being, stab, stab, or wizards or orcs or, like we can actually have themes we enjoy, but really complex and with lots of story and
Oh,
stuff happening
absolutely.
around them.
Yeah, my
So,
second project kind of offshoots a little from that. You Don't Meet in a Tavern is actually a series of prompts for system agnostic TTRPGs for people to get started without
mhm.
meeting a tavern or meeting during a fight.
Yep.
And we've got everything in there from, really deep, dark, cursed amulet, sort of things to meeting at like a gnome pottery night. So like it's a paint and sip.
That sounds cute.
But we wanted to embrace this idea that sometimes people don't want to come in, but people want to experience those type of systems, but they don't necessarily want to hack and slash or follow some tropes that maybe they don't find as interesting. But this way you could, if all you wanted to do was have a joyful afternoon picking blackberries, then you could totally do it with this. So, and just put it onto whatever system you wanted to.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of the stuff that you're describing sounds more like TTRPG space stuff. Um, would you
I'd like
say
to
that that's
go
where you're going?
I'd like to bridge the gap between the two. I'm a longtime board gamer. My family all played games. If you could hold cards in my family, you were playing at the table. So, I didn't actually get into TTRPGs until about 12 years ago. Um, and since then, I've been able to experience a lot of them, but depending where we were, because we move a lot, sometimes it was very much, it was almost always D&D. You find a lot of
Mhm.
D&D, and then you find a little bit of other things if you look around really closely. Um, and I think especially when you're talking about something like D&D, which has this huge history and like novels and novels worth of rules and everything else, as the average board game kind of looks over to the TTRPG space, they go, wow, that's a lot. And so it's daunting
Mhm.
to jump into that. So if Violet Daisy can kind of help bridge the gap between we've got something on the table that we're playing with and we're telling a story with it at the same time, I think that would be really cool, and it makes both sides really accessible. It brings RPGers different mechanics and different bits to mess around with while they're telling their stories, but it also allows board gamers to have those bits and have, sometimes you kind of want to just fiddle around with something on your hand and move it around while you're telling the story.
Mhm.